Thank you, Cathaoirleach, and thank you, Minister, for coming to the House. I was hoping that it would be Minister Sapone who was coming into the House, because I want to talk to her and to yourself about the urgent need for a family resource centre in Erris in North Mayo. Now, I welcome the recent announcements of the additional family resource centres that were made, but none of those have been made in Mayo. And I haven't intervened before now because I felt absolutely sure that it would be recognised, that the need and the urgent need for a family resource centre in Erris would be recognised. Now, I'm not sure, Minister, if you've been to Erris, but you will have heard of Belmullet, which is the main population centre that covers an area where we have a population of almost 8,000 people. It's 154 kilometres round trip to the county town of Castlebar and 124 kilometres round trip to Ballina. And this is just to give you an idea in terms of the isolation and in terms of the difficulties around access. The primary routes and the secondary routes for connecting to those towns are prone to flooding, are indeed in need of absolute urgent upgrade, but that's for another minister. Now, we saw last week the Social Justice Ireland report in terms of poverty and all of the figures there, and we see how as well the increased poverty in rural areas, and it's areas like this that I'm talking about, the poverty of access to essential services. So it's not feasible for support services such as those provided by Tusla through the family resource centres to travel in and out of Erris to meet the needs of individuals and of families. And indeed the Tusla staff and the HSE staff spend half their days travelling to and from the main centres is not the best use of their time, and indeed it's not conducive to providing the quality of support service to individuals and families that we need. The reality is that families and individuals are being deprived of life-saving and life-changing support and services available to people living in other areas. So a family resource centre located in Erris would facilitate an early intervention and prevention approach that would assist in preventing cases escalating to the social work teams and the mental health teams that are already overstretched. Now, Minister, since the CDP, the Community Development Project, was closed down in 2015, there is an even more severe gap in services for the Erris community, as well as the one-to-one supports provided by the CDP, initiatives such as the whole community responses to bullying, to domestic violence, to poor mental health, to isolation, and many other key issues were developed over the 13-year period that the CDP was in existence, and it also acted as a facilitator and an anchor for parenting programmes, for assist, for community participation in primary care and other anti-poverty and social inclusion initiatives. So the combination of the family support and the community development that could be provided by the Family Resource Centre would serve to genuinely tackle disadvantage and redress the inequalities preventing people from living full, healthy and self-determined lives. Minister, Erris is a wonderful area to live or to visit, but the deprivation statistics which were included in the application to have a family resource centre in Erris will speak to the underlying severe disadvantage when it comes to accessing services, indeed when it comes to unemployment, when it comes to the level of lone parents, the number of people living in isolation. It speaks to all of those things. Even young people with acute mental health difficulties still have to travel to North Mayo CAM services based in Ballina. Now, if you're a young person and you're recovering from a bereavement or something really traumatic that's happened in your life and you need the support of CAMs and of services, having to be taken out of school for a whole day to travel to access these services is not feasible. And that is the reason I'm asking you to re-look in terms of the family resource centres and to urgently put one into the Erris area. I wouldn't ask you if it wasn't desperately needed. I'm asking you on behalf of these families and individuals. Thank you, Cathaoirleach.
Minister. I welcome the opportunity to respond to the issue raised by Senator Conway-Walsh. The Family Resource Centre programme was established in 1998. The programme was overseen by the former Family Support Agency up to the transfer of responsibility to Tusla, the Child and Family Agency, on its establishment in 2014. Up until this year, there were 109 family resource centres in the programme. 7 centres are operational in County Mayo and are located in Ballina, Castlebar, Westport, Claremorris, Ballyhonus, Ballinrobe and Kilmavee. Family resource centres are independent voluntary organisations that deliver universal services to families in local communities based on a life cycle approach. The centres seek to combat disadvantage and to provide supports for the improvement of family life. The Family Resource Centre programme emphasises the involvement of communities in tackling the problems they face, working inclusively with service users and creating successful partnerships between voluntary and statutory organisations at community level. In Budget 2018, Minister Sapone secured an additional €3 million for Tusla to support the Family Resource Centre programme. The additional funding provided is being used to support existing family resource centres and also provides for expansion of the programme with the inclusion of 11 new centres. Following a public application process, Tusla has recently announced the 11 centres which are being included in the programme this year. I understand that the applications to Tusla to join the programme were of a very high standard. The criteria considered, including the size and make-up of the geographical area, the social and economic conditions of the specified area, and the overall population breakdown of the area that would be serviced by the centre. The criteria also considered the structure of the organisation applying to the programme, its objectives, targets and current relationships with other organisations, and the inclusion of available research, community projects and needs assessments with the application. Tusla received a high number of applications, 47 in total, for inclusion in the programme. One of these was from an organisation based in the area of Mayo. Tusla was faced with a difficult decision-making process in selecting 11 new centres for inclusion in the programme. It is important to emphasise that Tusla has recently established an online virtual child and family support network for Erris and Ballina. Child and family support networks represent services that play a role in the lives of children and families in a given area, such as statutory service providers and local voluntary and community services. The aim of these networks is to ensure that if a family presents to a service which cannot meet their needs, the service can redirect the family to another service which is more appropriate. The new online network will enable services to develop an understanding of the work of other providers in order to enable the provision of a more integrated service to families in the community. Tusla has advised that it also funds a full-time family support worker in the local area. The Mayo Children and Young People Service Committee also brings together representatives of the state bodies, along with community and voluntary services that work with children and young people in the county. The committee is currently finalising a 3-year plan for Mayo, which will include an audit of services working with children, young people and families in Mayo, as well as a local needs analysis. Future commissioning of services by Tusla and County Mayo will take the completed local needs analysis into account, including any gaps in services wherever they may be identified. Through its prevention, partnership and family support network, Tusla will continue to provide supports through the targeting of additional resources to services that will impact positively on vulnerable children and families. In conclusion, I want to thank Senator Conway-Walsh for raising this matter. I know it is of key importance that the needs of families are met in the best way possible, particularly in areas of disadvantage. I can assure the Senator that my colleague Minister Sapone will continue to support the work of family resource centres and that family support is a key priority for her.
Senator.
Yeah, thank you, Cathaoirleach, and thank you, Minister, for that. Minister, I hear what you're saying here. I have worked in the middle of all of this, in all of the interagencies and the cooperation and different things that can be done. What is needed is a family resource centre. I welcome that there's a support worker going to be in place there. That is not enough. It's not adequate to replace the community development project and the extra family supports that are needed in that area. You will know there has been severe tragedy across that area in recent years and even in the last number of months. These services are desperately needed there. I really would ask you, and I'm going to contact Minister Sapone separately as well, to ask her, there are exceptional needs in this area that are not going to be covered around the local needs analysis. 3 years. There will be lives lost in 3 years. There will be lives, the quality of lives in those 3 years. People who desperately need the services that could be provided through a family resource centre are not going to be done. And that really, really concerns me. We have said, we have all these headline figures and all this, Minister. We needed to get down to these people who are extremely vulnerable, and time is of the essence in doing that. So I will write to the Minister separately to ask her to consider ERIS on an exceptional needs basis. I don't want to get caught up in an audit. All of the deprivation figures there speak for themselves. This has the backing of all of the statutory agencies who don't do things like this lightly because they know the need in it. Some of them are working there, and people that they work with within their teams have to travel out to the ERIS area. So thank you, Cathaoirleach, and thank you, Minister, for that today. But this is just the beginning of the fight for a family resource centre in ERIS.